So like the first thing that we'll look at, does this thing will help not 1,000 people, but like million people to have enormous and affordable access to healthcare.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. Your host here, Dr. V, Dr. Kien Vu, triple board certified MD and longevity and performance expert. And I'm here today with another special episode. You know, this episode is longevity, performance and longevity doctor. And today I have with me a longevity investor who knows the latest and greatest technologies in the space that will actually take the human lifespan past what we think is possible. What do you think? Do you think it's 100 years, 120 years, 150 years, 200 years? Well, Sergey Young, the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund, thinks it will be 200. He's actually the author of the best-selling book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young. So if you haven't picked up a copy of that book or my book, I suggest you do, because in both of them, you'll receive the knowledge, the technologies, and the practical things that you could do on a day-to-day basis to increase your health span, your lifespan, and your happiness. So if you haven't picked up a copy of my book yet, go to thrivestatebook.com. Now, for all of you who are new, who are joining this podcast for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. The Thrive State Podcast is all about bringing in the best minds, authors, teachers, global thought leaders on how to elevate your life, your health, your performance to the next level. And this podcast is no different. In fact, this is the second time Sergey has joined in the Thrive State Podcast. Why? Because I want to give you guys all the latest and greatest technologies in the longevity and health space so that you can apply them and have something to look forward to, because life will be more fulfilling, more purpose-driven, and longer than we have known possible before. So let me just tell you a little bit about Sergey. He's actually a longevity investor and visionary. His mission is actually to help 1 billion people. And I would actually say more than 1 billion people to extend their healthy lifespans by making longevity affordable and accessible for everyone. Sergey's investment experience actually spans over 20 years and includes managing a $2 billion private equity fund and co-founding Peak State Ventures, a New York-based private equity fund focusing on new technologies in real estate, digital healthcare, and the future of work. Sergey is also a longevity venture partner at Bold Capital Partners, a $250 million fund focusing on exponential technologies co-founded by Peter Diamandis. His longevity-related activities include the following: Innovation Board Member at X Prize Foundation, dedicated to solving the world's biggest problems. Development sponsor of Age Reversal X Prize, which is a global initiative designed to incentivize the development of technological breakthroughs through curing aging. Board of Directors of the American Foundation of Aging Research, and Financial Advisory Board Member at APPG for Longevity, helping to shape national longevity strategy in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, or your virtual hands together, and welcome visionary and founder of the Longevity Vision Fund, Sergey Young.
There he is.
Hi, Kien. Hi, brother.
My brother, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I hope you're in the Thrive State now.
I'm always in the Thrive State. And you know what?
I know
had
that.
7 elements in my book, 7 things to be in the Thrive State. But you know what? When I talk to Sergey Young, it puts me in a Thrive State as well. So
yeah, you're going to be younger by the end of this conversation. So good to see, and so good to see everyone in our audience.
yeah, welcome everybody who's joined here today. Now, this is actually the second time Sergey and I have talked. The first time was over Zoom, and then he's also on YouTube and iTunes. We're actually going to transmute all this information over to YouTube and iTunes as well. But it's the second time he's been on the podcast. So Sergey Young, welcome to the Thrive State Podcast again.
Thank you. Thanks, Kien. Thanks, everyone. I'm so excited.
Now, if you don't know already, Sergey Young is the best-selling author of the book behind me, The Science and Technology of Growing Young. So if you haven't picked up a copy, pick up your copy today. Now, the last time he was on the show, we played a game called 5 to Thrive, and he actually won that game. Now, he's one of the few world-class leaders that are out there that gets to play this game twice. So are you ready to play another 5 to Thrive? Remember, all these answers are going to be less than 1 minute long. Sergey, are you ready to play?
Okay, 5 to Thrive.
Question number 1 for 1,000 points. How long do you plan on living?
200 years.
200
For all
years,
of us who wants to live longer, at least 200 years, healthy and happy.
Healthy and happy for 200 years. That's awesome. Question number 2. The number one thing that you can do right now, that anybody in this audience can do right now, if they want to increase the longevity. One simple thing they can do.
Okay, so I'll just start with not the obvious one. Guys, book your checkup. Book your doctor appointment, right? The most important day of your life every year is not your birthday. It's the day of your annual medical screening. Because we can predict and prevent so many diseases like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, probably soon. This is like 90% of deaths happening after the age of 50. So again, most important day of your life, every year, day of your medical screening.
Day of your medical screening. That's an awesome one. And hey, you got to come to a longevity doctor like myself or so many people trained in the field to get your longevity screening. Question number 3. Who have you not met yet in person that you would like to meet, Sergey?
Yeah, look, it might sound obvious, but Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk. I thought being affiliated with the X Prize, you would have already met him.
Not yet.
All right. So, Elon, if you're listening right now, Sergey would like to meet you. Question number 4. What's the one lesson we can teach our kids right now so that they have a mindset of longevity and health? What's one thing that we can give to our kids?
Yeah, well, this is the difficult one. I have 4 kids, and I frequently see in your story that you're also a good and nice father. Yeah, I've been struggling with the diet habits. And for me, I was just trying to explain to my kids this whole thing about the importance of plant-based diet, the impact of the sugar in the food on our health as well. But the biggest compliments I received, I remember we went to supermarket and the guy who was just right in front of us checking out at the till. So he got like a lot of sugar drinks and a lot of potato chips.
Yeah.
And I remember at this time, 7 years old boy, Timothy, saying, and he was just screaming at the whole supermarket, like, so everyone can hear him. He was like, Dad, look, this guy just bought so many dangerous things. And I was like, everyone looking at me, and I was like, okay, I don't even know what to say. This guy had a lot of fun. I'm not sure he changed his diet habits and his purchasing habit, but there was, and it is the biggest challenge. There's so many temptation for the kid.
Absolutely.
So
teaching our kids the right choices then, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. And the last on the 5 to Thrive, and this is just getting the conversation started, is what's the impact you want to leave in the world, Sergey?
Very simple. I want to change at least 1 billion lives by bringing an affordable and accessible version of longevity to the world. Because we're living in this unique intersection of technological innovations and scientific discoveries when we can actually reverse aging, when we can fight age-related diseases. So my dream is to bring more and more healthy and happy years to everyone's life.
That's beautiful. I mean, let's tally the points here. Out of 5,000 points, 5,555 points for you, Sergey. You win yet another dinner. We're set to hang out now. I just want to let people to know this is actually the second time, Sergey and I had a conversation. So if you want to check out the first conversation, go to episode 31. Live to 100, the science and technology of growing young. You'll get to know more of Sergey's story. So I'm not going to dive into the same questions there. We're going to bring up some new questions here. But just to give them a very, very short synopsis of how you got into this mode and mission of helping 1 billion people, reach their health spans. I know you're an investor. How did you start to develop this longevity vision fund?
Yeah. So the unfortunate reality for so many of us is that we start to develop the interest in health and longevity from our personal health crisis. That's how, our mind is created. We need to have a shock, the crisis, to, start taking care of our health. So that was my case. It was not super dramatic. Yeah, I just happened to have extremely high cholesterol level. And I believe 40% of the people in the US are suffering from the same problem. But I had a choice. Option one was to live on medication till the rest of my life, taking this every day. You had a similar story, Kien. I know.
Yes, I did.
Okay? Yeah. And you were even on medication. So they give me this paper saying, Sergey, you need to take it. And I'm like, no problem. 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. And they're like, no. For the rest of your life, every day, you're going to be living on these pills. And I'm like, okay, what's the alternative? And they everyone know what to do, but no one does it. And the alternative was change your diet, supplementation, like nutrition mix, and your physical activity level. And I'm like, okay, just give me more. And they're like, that's it. So I just couldn't really believe my ears. So I decided I'll just experiment for 6 months. So I started to go to a swimming pool every day. I went on mostly plant-based diets. It was pretty supplementation-wise. It was just simple omega-3 and vitamin D. And my level of cholesterol decreased by 25%.
Amazing.
So it was actually within the norm, like in the upper part of that, but still, right, below the maximum. And I'm like, oh my God. So our body has this enormous ability to heal. I mean, not against all the diseases, right? But for some of the basic things, you can fix it with food, sleep, exercise. And I got so excited. I started to share my experience with my friends. And then what has happened, I saved lives. So, and I was always thinking about the second career, becoming a doctor, because I'm really jealous about the things that you guys do, because you can literally save people's lives. So what I've done, I just sent all the people I know to do medical screening. And I've got few phone calls, and they all started like, Sergey, you saved my life. You pushed me to do this medical screening. It was colon cancer, lung cancer, early stage. And because it was early stage, detected at early stage, I managed to recover. And the quality of my life is the same. I'm alive. I'm healthy. Thank you, Sergey. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I saved quite a few lives. So, and then when you got this message, you are on the hook. Yeah, you just you want to continue. You want to save the whole planet. You want to make everyone healthy. And I thought, if I want to help the development of the space, longevity medicine, making people healthier, for medicine to change to become much more proactive, technology-driven, data-driven, I thought I'll set up a relatively small fund. At this time, I thought it's going to be $50 million. This is not my money, right? This is money of investors who trust me. And I thought, okay, I'll just set up this small fund, Longevity Vision Fund, and I'll support entrepreneurs and scientists who will bring the technology, a new technology in the old world of medicine. So that's the story.
Wow, that's beautiful. So a few things here. I know some people were asking, how does somebody even access? Can somebody who's just a regular consumer access the fund, or is it a very, very narrow fund that only special people get access to?
So longevity is an orphan for investment world, for biotech world, for big pharma world. And the reason being is do an experiment, go to CVS or Walgreens and ask for medication or drug against aging. Okay. They would think you crazy, or they would send you to cosmetics, or they would send you to supplements, right? There's no drug against age-related diseases.
All right.
And the reason being, aging is not disease in official terms. That's why it's extremely difficult to invest in longevity, because you couldn't really protect your IP. You can't build the economic model. So it's still extremely risky area. It was the long answer why so many people could not join the effort in terms of investing in this space. Not yet. Leave it to investment professionals like us. Again, it's super, super risky.
I see. So the next question here is, I know you've got a huge team, Sergey, but how do you guys start picking the technologies that your fund is investing in?
Yeah, so what we've done, we were kind of trying to look at what will change the current cost and current efficiency of fighting massive diseases.
Yeah.
So like cancer, like if you do early cancer diagnostic, and we invested in a company called Freenome. It's a very famous company. What they do, they use our blood test to do early diagnostic of colon cancer. Like the other option to do diagnostic of colon cancer is colonoscopy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like you do it once every 2 or every 5 years, depending on the country. It's an invasive procedure. People hate it. And it costs $2,000, depending on the clinic and your insurance plan. But like doing early diagnostic with the blood, with the same specificity, with the same efficiency, costs somewhere around $200. So we always kind of thinking, what can disrupt the cost and what can improve the efficiency of early diagnostic? And this is why we have early cancer diagnostic in our portfolio, or use of artificial intelligence in stethoscopes. We actually invested in a company who created the digital stethoscope. For doctors, it looks the same, but what it does, it doesn't really go to doctor's ear. It actually, artificial intelligence analyze like every heartbeat and the pattern of it. And it's the combination of human doctor and artificial intelligence has been able to improve efficiency of diagnostic by 3 times. So like every technology that we invest in will decrease the cost of healthcare to treat this particular diagnostic or disease by 10, 20, not percent times. So like the first thing that we'll look at, does this thing will help not 1,000 people, but like million people to have enormous and affordable access to healthcare.
That's really, really amazing. I know personally, because before I became a longevity expert, I was a radiologist, and using artificial intelligence and some of the work that we were doing, some people were like, okay, this is going to replace doctors altogether. It's not the case. It actually allows doctor to make better decisions to avoid medical errors. And so the fact that we're able to do this will save a lot of lives and will save a lot of money. So thank you for sharing that with us. Let me ask you something.
I just want to make one comment. And this is the quote from the book, right? It says, thank you. It says, artificial intelligence will not replace radiologists.
Right.
But it will replace radiologists who are not using AI. Okay, so it's combination of both. Like for the last 2 years, I've been doing medical screening, actually in San Diego, California, in Human Longevity Center. Health Nucleus. It was first AI, which they used to screen my scans. And then I had a discussion with radiologists.
Yes. This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that thrive state is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast.
Don't be afraid of technologies, doctors. They're used to help us. So going off of that, what right now would you say the three most exciting technologies are to watch in the health and longevity space in terms of like the feasibility of bringing it actually into market, people using it?
So we talk a little bit about what we can do now, right? It's medical screening, it's early diagnostic, and using the power of wearables, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to measure your health and your performance. But then the most exciting things will happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. So this is what I call in the book, the near horizon of longevity. And I'm personally excited as an investor. So like we're looking at 200 companies a year to invest in 10 of them. So I have this enormous access to amazing inflow of scientific ideas, right? Entrepreneurial innovation, all these companies. So I'm personally excited about three things. One is, and you heard it already today, is longevity in a pill. In 5 years from now, I'm going to answer your question on wearables, right? It's exciting. Yeah, I love my wearables. Yeah, I live by them. So the first thing, longevity in a pill. In 5, 10 years from now, we're going to have a new class of drugs called longevity drugs or anti-aging drugs. Drugs which would actually fight aging processes inside our bodies and will help us to fight not one particular disease or one particular symptom, but would fight, again, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, neurodegenerative diseases. So that's kind of one thing. It can easily be existing drug. You've heard about the value of drug repurposing, like metformin, the usual suspect, the drug that we know for 60 years, the old diabetes drug, can be repurposed for treating age-related diseases and preventing aging. So, but we just need to wait for the outcome of the human trial, which probably will start this or next year in the US, where 3,000 people, we're going to be testing metformin in the context of, metformin being claimed as longevity drug, like life extension drug. So that's one. Second thing is organ regeneration and organ replacement. This is the part of regenerative medicine. Think about like liver transplantation today would cost anywhere between $600,000 and $800,000.
Yeah.
And we have a queue of people. Actually, like in the US only, we have 117,000 people who are on the waiting list for donor organs. That's a huge problem. Yeah. And it's costly and expensive. Some people die while waiting for donor organ. So what's going to happen? We're going to develop number of avenues for organ replacement or regrowing. So you can do, exactly. As someone suggested in the comments, you can 3D print organs, or you can use different species materials or pigs to regrow some of the organs. They have pretty good compatibility with human body, not to offend anyone. And what else? Or we can use our lymph nodes to regrow organs. 2 years ago, when we invested in a company called Genesis, they based in Pittsburgh. They use our lymph nodes to regrow liver. And this year, actually in January, a month ago, they started the first human trial. They're trying to save lives of 10 people with the terminal liver disease. They have no choice rather than, liver transplantation. So I'm really hopeful about this second thing, like organ regeneration, organ replacement. And the third thing is genomic medicine, gene editing and gene therapy. We invested at least 50% of our companies are using artificial intelligence. 50% of our companies are looking at the field of gene editing and gene therapy. Some of the diseases that we call rare diseases, right, have a genetic nature. And while we call them rare, there are 400 million people on Earth who's suffering from this so-called rare disease. So we'll have an opportunity to amend our genetic code to live longer, healthier, and happier version of our life.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can already see it happening in you and me. So let's get back. We had actually one of our audience members ask about wearables. We see you a lot. We see it Oura Ring. What are some of the ones that you're recommending for people to check
I
out?
think this question came from Greg. So what do I think? Well, our road to longevity and health is the road of change.
Yep.
And it's very difficult to change with extremely long feedback cycle. Like think about our old model of relationship with medicine. You go to doctor every quarter or 6 months or every year. So doctor will tell you like how healthy or unhealthy you are. So that's your feedback cycle. So if you hear the feedback every year, it's just really difficult. Hi, Anastasia. It's just very difficult to change. But so what wearables do for us, they give us instant feedback. And it's great. So I'm using Apple Watch. This is one of my favorite wearables. Well, think about Apple. If Apple want to add another trillion to their market capitalization, they have only three choices. They can disrupt like the car industry, or education or healthcare. And Apple is like super active in healthcare. They invest a lot in that. Some people say Apple will have like 50% of their revenue from healthcare. And I don't mind. It's going to be, again, technology-based, data-driven version of healthcare. And I'm actually using Apple Watch to stimulate myself. Yeah, thanks for bringing up BlackBerry. I'm like, I was a big fan of BlackBerry. I was like the last guy to drop BlackBerry, by the way, and Nokia as well. To close my circles, like do my activity I don't know if you see that, like every day. I'm closing the circles, and it's like really important. And it's a funny thing. My kids love it because for every completed challenge, your Apple Watch will give you like shield or something like little NFT if you want, right? Little sign, little prize as well. So that's actually pretty cool. And for sleep, I'm using Oura Ring. Yeah, what I hate about wearables, like, because it's always switch on screen wise during the night. So like Oura Ring, it's very compact. You can just put it on your palm, on your finger, and in the end of the night, you have the score. You can take a look at like how many minutes, hours of deep sleep you had, and you can actually change that.
Amazing. I would like to just add to that. So Apple Watch, Oura Ring, love those things. What you may consider out there only because diabetes, insulin resistance is so prevalent around the world. It's such a leading common denominator for disease. Knowing your blood sugar, knowing the activities you do, the foods that you eat. Yes. So having a continuous glucose monitor that you wear, I think is a very great, important technology and wearable that you can keep right now to understand how you react to food and activities. Yeah,
I love it. So I think in the last quarter, I used continuous glucose monitor like 4 times, and it works for like 14 days.
Yep, 14 days.
Yeah, it stores information about your glucose for like 8 hours in a row before you actually synchronize it with your smartphone. And it's amazing. I'm like healthy guy, okay? But even I found fascinating relationship with food and drinks that I consume and the level of glucose in my blood. And some of the outcomes are pretty obvious, like, freshly squeezed juices, processed food, and some of the outcomes are not really obvious. So I found one life hack by using my continuous glucose monitor. Like, I'm in love with pasta and I'm in love with ice cream. And I always thought it's just gonna like, it's just will create like insulin spike. But like if you do like, probably 2 portions of vegetables right in the beginning of your meal.
Yeah.
The sugar spike is gonna be a glucose spike. It's gonna be much, much lower. It's almost like insignificant. Yeah, you couldn't like do it every day, but like at least I know if I'm about to do a scene and eat pasta, my favorite one, or eat ice cream, I'll just start with fresh vegetables. It's a lot of fiber, and it will actually accommodate a lot of sugar, which will come out from it.
And a great hack I've learned is if you happen to have a high glycemic load, a great way to drop it pretty quickly is right after the meal, go for a nice little walk that will bring up your heart rate a little bit. You'll actually notice your blood sugar drop, pretty precipitously because it'll go into those skeletal muscles, the blood sugar. Yeah. So I've got two more questions for you, Sergey. I know you're pressed on time, but let's just do two quick questions real fast. The first question is, in the midst of sort of like the pandemic that's going on in the world now, where is the technology and where is the science? Has that changed in terms of people's focus on the technologies that are coming out to expand lifespan?
Yeah, so it is interesting. As always, there's kind of good news and bad news. So good news is, if you looked at what technology can bring to the healthcare, it's been amazing, right? Just use of artificial intelligence to decrease the cost of drug discovery, or use of artificial intelligence to do early diagnostic of cancer, right? Like a combination of artificial intelligence and human radiologists will detect early stage breast cancer for ladies in 98% of cases. We've never seen such a precise ability to do diagnostics. So that's kind of good news. So what we see in the labs, what we see in the company, in the startups that we're investing, it's been really amazing. So that's the good news. Well, the bad news, everywhere in the world, and in the US specifically, it is actually a long way from approval of something to the time when you can access this in your healthcare system. And in the US, I don't know if you know that, it takes 17 years to take approval drug or intervention for the mass use. So it's very likely, if you go to the hospital next door, that you're facing the healthcare, which is 17 years old. And I still don't know how to solve this problem. It's really disappointing.
That is very, very disappointing. Hopefully that, maybe people just need to leave the U.S. and come over to where you're.
No, not necessarily. I think I'm like more hopeful about data-driven and like more technology-driven version of medicine. I think this is where the huge disruption will come from.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, we know there's a technology that's been actually very super helpful, such as stem cells, that's going on. But unfortunately, people are having to leave our country to access some of the most, great technologies in the stem cell world. Now, before I ask my very, very last question, Sergey, people are here, people are super excited. How do people find out more about you and learn more about you and everything that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's Sergey Young 200 on Instagram and on Twitter as well. I'm actually becoming more popular on Twitter. I don't know why. And SergeyYoung.com.
There you go.
The easiest way is just sign up for my newsletters. And like every month, we sharing a lot of exciting stuff, which is complex science translated in simple words. Like what is happening in the world of health, in the world of longevity technologies.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Number one, you feel his energy and everything Sergey does. He sees the landscape of that. And what you'll love about his newsletter is he just boils it down so that he makes it easy for you to understand as well. So thank you, Sergey. Last question for you. I asked this the last time around, so if you have a different answer, that's okay. After everything you've been through and all the technologies that you've seen that are available, what has been your best medicine?
Diet. You couldn't believe, food can be our poison and food can be our remedy. And like we are significantly underestimating to what extent we can change our lives. We can change our health, right? We can extend our healthy and happy years and even like influencing our mental state, our mental health through diet. So that's been exciting. And we all love food, so that's very easy to implement.
Yeah. All right. Sounds great. So watch what you eat. If you haven't already, pick up his book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Sergey Young. Thanks for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Thanks, Kien. Thanks, everyone. Stay healthy and happy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if this podcast is bringing a lot of value to you, if you find that your life is just improving with this podcast, that your life is getting to the next level, please consider supporting it. And here's a few ways you can do so. You can do so by liking this video and commenting on this video, and also sharing this video with your friends and family. Another thing you can do is go to ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review there. It will really, really help this show grow. And this will give me more time so that I could actually give more content to you, just like you got in this episode. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, Your Blueprint for Optimal Health, Longevity, and Peak Performance, you can pick it up now. It became a #1 new release in longevity. Go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you enjoy the book, please consider leaving us a review as well. And the last thing you can do, if you're liking everything here and you want to work more closely with me as well as my team to get you into the Thrive State, go to kienvu.com/accelerator and consider joining the home course, the Thrive State Accelerator. It's really the course that I use. It's the concepts that I use personally when I work with CEOs, celebrities, and my high-profile clients to get them to the Thrive State. Again, the Thrive State Accelerator at kienvu.com/accelerator. And because you're a listener of this podcast, I want you to save 25% by using the coupon code podcast25. I hope we continue to give value to you. And remember always, you are your best medicine.